Welcome, everybody. Probably no one is watching because we just started, but if you watch this back, you'll be welcome. But otherwise, no sense in not getting right to it, right, Sarah?
Yeah, big evening, big day today. You were there for Thurby, the
I was
phrase that
there.
everybody won't stop saying. I watched from home. We'll both be there tomorrow and Saturday. You can feel the excitement. It's not quite
Yeah,
as exciting at almost 10 p.m., very close to my bedtime, but
this
it'll
is
be
late.
exciting to watch this back tomorrow and see everybody's thoughts on the Oaks and the Derby and great racing coming up.
Yeah, well, this is a time a lot of people are handicapping and maybe re-handicapping because we're very much expecting a wet Oaks Day. You had an article on Horse Racing Nation. If Candace were watching, she'd throw it in the comments. We'll do that later. But sire, of course, pedigree, looking at wet horses. I do think the graded stakes will stay on the turf, but maybe the undercard race might go turf to dirt. So that's an angle to play pedigree wise as well. But really, an added wrinkle to an already complex card.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much focus on both of these big races, but I feel like not as many people are really talking about those undercard races. But obviously, you and I are both playing multi race bets, and many other people are too. Anybody that's going for the day, they're not just going for one race, they're going to go watch an entire card of races. And those people are going to be like, is this the one? Is this the one? And you're going to be like, not yet. But at least people have an idea of how to bet those races and have some sort of clue what to do if all these races or any of these races come off the turf. So I kind of focused on the horses that are the shortest prices or the ones that are really had significant move ups or downs based on the sire moves report for tomorrow. So we'll see what happens. But there were some that were likely to be taking a bit of money. I'm sure if the race does come off the turf, they're likely to scratch, but just in case.
Right. Uh, Yeah, well, I'd say let's get to it. Now, even though it is late, we're not going to put people to sleep and go through the card one by one. I just thought it'd be fun to solicit people's opinions. And in the meantime, we can maybe talk about some races we're excited about. I'll get to it in a moment because the first race I want to bring up is race 8, the 3-year-old turf race. But I will note that race 6 is especially important because it starts not only the Derby City Six, which is the 20-cent pick six wager, which is a jackpot on Friday, mandatory payout Saturday, but also the start of the $2 pick six, the 2-day variety that incorporates all the grade one races. So pick six bonanza in race 6. Race 8, though, I would say is one of the keys to my day. I'm curious what you think because she's trying turf for the first time, but I do like Dreamlith, and I think I'm going to get a good price.
Well, I would totally agree that you're going to get a good price, but I don't really like her much at all. Obviously, the Chads are
Even
going to
though
be.
she wanted Saratoga,
Yeah, that was on the dirt. I mean, and she was a
right?
big price that day. She hasn't really shown up to me much since then. I would want to kind of see more from her going into a race like this where she's trying turf for the first time against horses that are proven on the turf. There's 3 Chad Browns in here. Of the ones in here, I would probably go to the 5 Dulce Zell. Of those,
Hmm.
McCulloch, I think, is kind of one of those not really living up to the hype as much, even though she's obviously done well on the racetrack so far. But there was a lot of buzz around this horse early, and she kind of hasn't really fully delivered. But I'm really interested in the 2 in here, My Philly Twirl, if this does stay on the turf. This horse was kind of a big price last time, ended up doing well and winning. Now it's 10 to 1 on the morning line. Definitely going to fly under the radar again.
Yeah, it's definitely flying under my radar to the point of being stealth.
You
Um,
love Julian.
I know. Well, I'm not picking Classic Causeway.
Well,
I did make
that,
a note though for
that would
those who
be
are
an
wondering about my
extreme.
handwriting. There it
What's it
is.
say?
Two with two to the power of S means that's a Sarah pick. And tomorrow when I get Greg Hall and Frank Ang's picks, I do the same with theirs. So, all right. Well, I do think Brown's number 5 is the most likely winner, but I think I'm going to get the right price on Dreamlith. So I'm hoping she at least hits the number.
Fair enough. I don't like her, but there's plenty of horses that I don't like that do well. So
Well, I would say if you're not taking some shots, you're not playing right anyway, and that's going to happen. So, how about you? Do you have like a key where you're, not necessarily a horse, most likely winner or anything like that, but just man, I'm excited to bet this race or get a price, see what happens?
Well, I mean, I thought we were just going to talk about the Kentucky Oaks, so I don't know that I was
Oh, my
really,
bad.
but I mean, this is the
Good
beauty
thing
of
we didn't go through race by race then.
well, this is the great thing about conversations with you is that I never know what we're going to talk about, so I kind of have to be prepared for a little bit of everything.
Mm,
I mean, the La Troyenne that you mentioned as being the start of that 2-day pick six, that looks like a 2-horse race to me. Temper Time, I liked last time, and she did win, but this is obviously much tougher facing the likes of She Dares the Devil and Pauline's Pearl. Pauline's Pearl, who you got to see at Sam Houston when she won the Sam Houston Ladies Classic. So you get to see her again. Throwing up some PPs.
yeah. Brisnet PPs.
Oh, I wouldn't expect
Race
anything
6,
else
right?
from you. Yes.
Who are you talking about?
I was
Temper
talking about
Time?
She Dares the Devil and Pauline's Pearl and Temper Time. But then I was actually going to go back to race number 5. Kevin Kirstein tweeted out that Lake Lucerne is scratching out of here. Curly Ruth and Fluffy Socks are rematching. I know you picked Curly Ruth last time at a price at Keeneland. That was a good pick by
Yeah.
you. Fluffy Socks is one of the ones that I looked at that Slumber only has had 2 progeny actually try an off dirt surface routing because he is such a smaller sample size type of sire. But I mean, they are 50% for the 2 for 2, so at least it's not 0. So she actually moves up quite a bit with the very, very, very limited sample size if this race were to be taken off of the turf. But she has run on the dirt before, so I like her in here. She can't sing. I didn't use her last time. That was a mistake. So she's the right price, 8-1 on the morning line. I mean, Chad's going to take money, both of his with Bleecker Street as well. So that would be
Yeah,
my third.
talk to me about you not picking Bleecker Street.
I just really like Fluffy Socks. I've seen her in
Mm-hmm.
person. She beat Runaway Rumor last year, one of my favorite horses. I think that if she runs a race like she did last time, I'll kind of have to jump off the train. She needs to actually win, but yeah, I mean, also you gotta have the Chad battle of Flavian Pratt versus Irad Ortiz, which was
Right.
something kind of funny I saw on Belmont on Sunday of last week. It was like Pratt out Irad at his own game, which was great because I had the 3 as a single in my pick 5 in there, but.
Well, everyone in the chat's talking about the Oak, so we won't let them down. We'll get to that. I will say though, Bleecker Street, I tried to beat in the Hillsborough at 5-2, and I felt extremely foolish afterward. So I don't really want odds on here, so I'm hoping the 9-5 is closer, and she's not 4-5 or even money. But I thought that was the type of race. I'm not sure who in this race could possibly match it. So
Yeah.
I ended up putting her on top.
I will say before we get to the Oaks really quick, probably likeliest winner on the Oaks Day card for tomorrow, Olympiad in race 7. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree. What's the off track situation for Olympiad? Let's see.
I don't think he should be affected.
21% mud.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Bitestown. Yeah, he's good with off. So yeah, I agree. I've seen some. Someone asked about, is it Mary Arter in a sprint in this race here?
Who?
Monterey.
Oh, Monterey. Yeah.
Yeah, someone asked about her maybe being the most likely winner of the pick 6, but I think it's Olympiad.
Yeah. I mean, she can win, certainly, but I would single him before her for sure.
No.
Not against
Joseph.
Olympiad, no.
Yeah, Joseph, I think Olympiad would have the measure there. But Steve also likes Folsom, so I won't talk people off going against the favorite, but I do think Olympiad is most likely winner.
Yeah, I'd agree.
All right. Well, how about that Oaks?
How about it? Secret Oath, 6-1 on the morning line. That's not going to hold.
It's interesting because Brandon Stauble didn't pick any of the so-called Big Four. Dougie Sal didn't. Scott Shapiro didn't. I'm shocked. Like, are we actually going to get 9-2 on Kathleen O?
No, absolutely not. Because think about all of these handicapping lines that you know, and then also think about the very, very rare times where the general public is throwing in their 2 cents and their $2, and that's days like tomorrow and Saturday. And they're not going to come up with the livest long shots or try to beat the favorite or try to get clever or whatever the case may be. They're going to go with the horses that make the most sense.
Right. So you're saying that'll suppress the horse we think makes the most sense?
I would say so. I mean,
Yeah.
you know how much I look at the buyer pars, and I hadn't even looked at it until today for the Oaks. And she is, Kathleen O, the only one that surpasses the par as well. So
Really?
Yep.
Well, the Brisnet par, which currently in the top right corner, is 101. And only Echo Zulu has done that, and that was previous races. No one did it in their last start, which is what's over here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. Well, I'm on Kathleen O. I know I vacillated and waffled a little bit after the workout, but just seems everything since, no reason to think she's gone backwards. And, if she wins, Smoking Tea becomes a lot more interesting on Saturday as well.
Yeah, definitely. And for those that don't know, which I didn't before you told me, Smoking Tea, the workout partner of Kathleen O, in that work that a lot of people have been speculating about. And everybody on Twitter has suddenly become the ultimate workout expert, and their visual handicapping is suddenly the way to go. And it's like, look, there was something that I retweeted this morning that was like, the only opinion that really matters in any of this is your own. Figure it out for yourself, do your own homework, and listen to yourself. And that's what I think a lot of people kind of need to be reminded of, and myself included. It's hard to get caught up in everybody else is having an opinion, and a lot of these people are people that I respect that want to share their thoughts on different things, and it's great to listen to them and keep them in mind. But at the end of the day, like, you have to formulate your own thoughts and not just tail somebody else, because if they're wrong and you had it right before you went along with them, you're going to end up feeling pretty stupid, and you're not going to have learned anything either.
Right. Yeah, I agree with all that. Now you know how I feel when people try to tell me about chili. It's like, that's my thing. I know chili, so don't worry about it. Question about Ray Lou, and actually this is going to dovetail into another question I have, but just specifically hidden connection before we get to the Ray Lou question. Dougie Sal's pick, he has a video up on YouTube. Check that out after you like and subscribe to our channel if that's how you're watching. This filly, for me, of the 15-1 and higher, is the one I prefer most.
That's fair. I think that I have a little bit of a personal bias, because I used her pretty heavily in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She didn't get out of the gate that well, so I could kind of forgive that performance. Then she comes back as a 3-year-old, and okay, maybe she wasn't totally ready off the layoff, and that was, just a race under her belt. Maybe that's not really how she wanted to run that race, with Lecret, who was on the lead, pulling up so sharply to make sure that she wasn't further injured in there. But she kind of totally threw in the towel with that race, and Turner Loose won, and I don't think much of Turner Loose. Then she comes back and she almost gets Echo Zulu, but I wonder, did she almost get Echo Zulu because she improved so much? Or did she almost get Echo Zulu because Echo Zulu took a step back and the other fillies are catching up to her? And it's probably a little bit of a combination of both of those things, but she can beat me. I already tried her a couple times. I had a pick 5 on the day that she came back for her 3-year-old debut that I think Cavalry Charge was a part of it, like 32-1 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And every single other leg I hit except for her, and I had singled her. And so I'm just a little bit salty about that.
A little sour. I would say based on Ragozin, which is something I use. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea for form cycles and such, but she definitely took a step forward in the Fairground Oaks based on their figures, while Echo Zulu didn't take a step back, but just kind of ran her same 11 that she had as a 2-year-old. So didn't really improve at 3, but it was a layoff. I would expect her to be a little better late Friday afternoon. But to me, Hidden Connection ran as good that day. Actually got a better number. So maybe more upside at 4 or 5 times the price. On Raylu though, riding absolutely lights out. He was 3 for 8 going into today, and I know he won at least one today. Riding great. I posted some stats about Asmussen, who isn't going that well here in Kentucky anyway. How much do you put into like recent trends when handicapping these big days? Is it just a totally different animal and you're not worried about it? Or like, okay, what's going on? Do I want a short price on a guy who's 0 for 12?
I mean, if it was like 0 for 10, 0 for 12, 0 for even 20 with the amount of horses that he has, and it was just a very brief type of thing. But when it's 0 for 70 something in the entirety of the state and not winning it all at Keeneland. And then today it was like, okay, well, they have this 2-year-old that's taking a ton of money and he has other live horses in here. He can win one before I'll bet his horses. Same with a jockey like Umberto Rispoli. Really well respected in California, comes over here, goose egg. He can win one before I bet his horses at short prices or at any price.
The short price, especially. I mean, I guess with Steve, should he have a longer shot? He's too good to worry about. And if you really like Epicenter, but with Echo Zulu, it is a little more of a concern for me, just with all the other stuff with the one prep for this, and he even said so at Fairgrounds that she necessarily they were really cutting it close to get her ready for here. So
there was talk that she wasn't even going to be in the Kentucky Oaks, and now here she is,
right,
which is great. Obviously, to have the 2-year-old filly champion in this race, it adds a certain exciting dimension to it. And I know she has her backers that are diehard fans still, and to get a good price on her if she's not the favorite would be wonderful. Before we get to this question real quick, I just want to mention, when you're losing at a streak like that, even as a gambler from the sidelines and not directly involved with the horses as much as a trainer or a jockey, you start getting really down on yourself and you start making even dumber decisions. And I think that kind of happens no matter what aspect of life you're involved in. If you're not doing well in general and you keep losing or you're not getting ahead or whatever, you don't have that same type of confidence. And then you start second guessing yourself and you start doing even worse, I feel like. So I think we see some rides that aren't quite up to the same par that we've seen from Umberto Rispoli in California. Even today, I had an exacta with one of the horses he was on, and he was taking the horse back, and then he went wide when he could have gone in. It was just like you start making mistakes that you wouldn't be making if you were riding with a much higher level of confidence.
Right, out of the zone for sure. It's some really good advice when that's happening.
Take a break.
Trust your luck.
Where's Kevin Kilroy?
I think he went to Grant Forster's party. Some red beans and rice.
All right, well,
which Grant won with Raylu up earlier, so I'm sure it's a pretty raucous party on Oaks Eve. Lots of questions about Secret Oath. I think it was the first one we got when we started, and a couple more have popped in. The rail, certainly in my mind, and nothing against Contreras, who I actually have never had an issue betting with confidence when I've liked his mount. But Arkansas Derby, I don't know that she was ever winning that race, but that move certainly dulled her finish and ended up third. I really think she was at least second best in there. So I definitely get the change. I just worry about after that race kind of going the wrong way in here. Someone brought up a good point to me, Sarah, about how she's been trained, and it hasn't been sort of the typical Lucas who really leans on his horses and tries to get a lot out of them in the morning. That hasn't been the case here. I'm a little concerned the tank's empty.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd say empty, but certainly gassed in some type of way for sure. Look, that race was a huge effort, whether you think she was best or whether you think that she was winning with a different rider or whatever your take on it may be. She ran. She ran her race, and to go from the back of the pack to circle up wide like she did and still try, that's got to take a lot out of a horse. And now, obviously, she's not in the Kentucky Derby, but she's still facing a salty group. This isn't exactly a step down, I would say, in class. And if you look at some of the figures that she has run that the other horses in the Arkansas Derby ran, such as Cyberknife and Barber Road, those two colts are slower than some of the fillies that she's meeting in here. With the one hole, I'm not really concerned about it too much because she's going to drop back anyway. And I trust Louis Size to find some sort of position with her. A 14 horse field is different than a 20 horse field. So it's not too much of a concern if you like the horse. It's not like she's going to get crushed going into the first turn. She has to worry about a narrower gate or anything like that. So it doesn't really bother me too much. I like other horses in here anyway, but if I liked her, I wouldn't be talked off of it from the one hole.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think if you're a fan, the opportunity to get five. I mean, yeah, I know you said she won't be six. I probably agree. But I mean, heck, the opportunity just to get even 9-2. Looking at what she did in the Martha Washington and Honeybee, like, dang, that's not too bad. Let's see. Nest, I guess, is really the only major contender we haven't touched on. A big step forward in the Ashland on the Ragozin sheets as well. I mean, her previous races, even the Demoiselle win, just as fast as Echo Zulu. So I see it as a positive that she has a little more seasoning as a 3-year-old because she has been able to move forward. And even if she maintains that, she's still among the fastest with Kathleen O. But I've seen her off plenty of other tickets as well, just like I'm leaving off Echo Zulu and Secret Oath for some. She's the one they're trying to fade. Where are you on that line?
Yeah, I mean, look, I never liked Nest. I thought that she was beating up on really soft fields. In her second start, she was beaten by Gerrymander and Magic Circle. Magic Circle is not this good. Gerrymander, I don't even really think is this good. Both of them good horses, but a couple low what she's facing in here. Obviously, she's a much better horse since then. But even Venti Valentine almost beat her a couple starts ago in the Demoiselle. Then she gets to go to Tampa, and that was to me a very soft field. But you can't deny that Ashland performance was good. The winning margin was astounding. She made a huge move and she just totally galloped out ahead of that field. I tried to pick against her that day, and that was a big mistake. So, if you want a horse that I think is really coming into their own and showing up at this time, now is the time to take her. But she would not be this price if it wasn't Pletcher.
You don't think?
No. What? She has
Pletcher or
one.
some other big name, I guess.
She has one good race with a 92 buyer in the Ashland last time out. Before that, her best ever buyer was an 82. That's not good enough.
Not good enough. All right. Just well, I think she's the second most likely winner, but I'm happy to see her take money because I'd much rather bet Kathleen O.
Yeah.
So I'm
Can we talk about Shahama a little bit? I know Caitlin Free
yeah.
is in love with the price.
We'll go through the Pletchers. I'll go with Goddess of Fire first, just because it came up. Same connections as last year's winner, much bigger price. This is actually, for me, of the Pletcher alternatives, so to speak. Greatly prefer Goddess of Fire. I guess part of it was behind Kathleen O at 8-5, maybe. But Mineshaft, pretty sprinty influence on the bottom. So this is an interesting pedigree for me at 9 furlongs. Don't love the mud, so that depending on how much it rains and where they're at, at 5:30 or whatever time this race is, maybe slight downgrade for me. But I like the numbers I like the number singular that she got last out. But being my mind shaft, I figured probably needed time anyway to develop. Really wouldn't have expected her as a 2-year-old. So if there were a head to head with the other Pletcher, not Nest, I would take Goddess of Fire. I think I'm in the minority though. I've seen more.
Over Shahama?
I've seen more Shahama than I have Goddess of Fire.
Yeah, I would be on the opposite side of that equation. I liked Goddess of Fire a lot as a 2-year-old. I liked her when she broke her maiden. I liked her for the Pocahontas. That's when Hidden Connection won that night that we were both there at Churchill Downs. Then I feel like she just didn't show up at all in the Tempted, and I was like, what happened to this horse? Then takes the sort of, oh, I know, so sorry. But I would have to say that a lot of people do use them.
They
Um,
do.
I mean, speaking of those Beyer speed figures, that 94 last time behind Kathleen O, it's a little to me kind of much. Even I think even Kathleen O's Beyer for that was a little high. Not that high, but a little bit high. But before that, Goddess of Fire's best ever was an 80, which is also not going to get it done in this race.
No.
So I get it. I mean, I liked her effort in the Rachel Alexandra to close kind of like she did, but I didn't really think anything of Turner Loose who beat her. So I think the fact that she kind of got the jump on Kathleen O, if she was gonna show up as a big threat in this race, she could have shown up last time. She had every right to tactically win over Kathleen O in that race. She sat closer. She was gonna get the first jump. She just made more sense from how the pace was going to play out in there. But the fact that Kathleen O ranged up to her and then just went right on by,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, that's one of those situations for me. Like, even at the big disparity in price for versus 15 to 1, I'm just going to lean with the horse I like. But I would say, well, okay, Kathleen O, but why not then Key Goddess of Fire underneath at 15 to 1? And she's still going to probably be the fourth or fifth choice in the minors behind whoever you have on top. So value there for me underneath. I would say I agree with your last point though, that like what happens here, that she turns the tables on Kathleen O or maybe some of the other ones, that I agree with. But I think she's a play underneath for me. Shahama is not, but certainly understand why some are gravitating toward her. One of three undefeated fillies in the race, and I would say if there's a wise gal horse this week at Churchill Downs, she would be it based on training. Plenty of people have noticed and talked about her, so that makes me perk up a little bit. That an UAE horse is handling things over here in the States, but I'd rather have Hidden Connection at 20 than Shama at 15.
that's fair. I think the question with her is obviously, does that form transfer over to the U.S.? And when Mark and I were on the backside, we did get to talk to Todd Fletcher, and Mark asked, how is she going to be racing over here? And Todd was like, well, I don't know about racing, but she's training very well. But the gate is a concern for a lot of horses coming over here and how quickly they break. Obviously, it's a concern for me with Summers tomorrow because I want him to go right to the front and be a pace presence in the Derby. So he was saying that she was a little slow to get out of the gate at times, so they're a little bit concerned about that. And if they're a little bit concerned about that, this is not the race where you want to have gate problems. But another horse that's slow out of the gate is Kathleen O. So it's just that I've seen her be slow out of the gate and overcome it. I haven't seen
Right.
Sean do that yet.
Which, speaking of which, Easy Fun Money did mention not so much the gate concerns, but her being wide. To me, that's a function of her running style, and more often than not, you're going to swing and try to get in the clear versus looking for a rail pass or something like that. And B, I think jockeys probably realize that she's then don't put her in any sort of position to get stopped. Now, maybe in the Oaks with 14 horses, there's maybe some calculus that they need to save some ground, and from post 10, we'll see how possible that is. But Castellano up, you'd think he knows her, being 4 for 4 with her. To me, the wide stuff is just, that's how you're going to win races with her style.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me at all because she's doing it. And so it's when I see a horse overcome trouble, then I'm not worried about really the same trouble again if it's not really a big deal to them, if they've already proven that they can do it. And I think really her most impressive performance to me was actually in the Devona Dale, where she wasn't circling up super wide on that turn. She was actually sitting in behind horses and waiting for that split. So showing that she can pause and wait for a path to open, and then when asked, shoot through it and actually have that acceleration when asked to do so. That to me is even more impressive. And just once she really got going, she just blew right by everybody. And those were,
Yeah.
I mean, Outfox to me was a horse that I was following along at Tampa, which I call them softer fields, and they were, but that horse had every right to show up in there and then just didn't. She went by all of them like it was no problem, including Cocktail Moments, who is now in this field as well.
In here as well. And I'm just scrolling looking for as wins on the offgoing. Kathleen O being one of them. Nest is another. That was wet fast at Keeneland. So,
Venti
Echo
Valentine.
Zulu was a good surface. And then, Venti Valentine, who I actually came into the week not over the moon with, just kind of another one of those at 20-1. I figured I'd, spread with a press on Kathleen O and just use some long shots. But the more I looked, and talking to you, and we spoke to some connections as well after the draw, she, in my mind, you took 11-10 last time, and she ended up not being able to go gate to wire. Pace was on the slow side, but maybe some excuses there. Now it's third off the layoff by a runner-up in the Derby out of Medaglia d'Oro mare, so not too concerned about the 9 furlongs. Has a win over the wet course. I've definitely moved her up to not an A because I'm so bullish on Kathleen O and Nest, but to me, she's one of the ones underneath, and I'm getting more narrow in that opinion.
Yeah, and I'll just bring this up really quickly because this is the horse that beat her last time. Nostalgic got an absolute dream trip just going right up the rail in that race. So I want to see it again from Nostalgic. With Venti Valentine, she's only finished first or second in her 5 career starts. She hasn't won at this mile and an eighth distance yet, but she's finished second at it 2 times, and at least she's tried it 2 times. Whereas a lot of others in here, they either haven't tried it yet or they don't have that kind of experience over it. So at the price that you're getting on her, 20-1 on the morning line, and as we said that we talked to some of those connections, didn't really have her cranked up for that last race. So they were aiming for this one. So that kind of piece of the puzzle to me says that she's going to fire a decent shot in here.
All right. That was actually Desert Dawn real quick. I would say the way Rispoli's going for this spot is a concern, even at 20-1.
Yeah, I looked at
That said, anytime Brandon, what's that?
I was just gonna say I looked at her and I was like, "What do I do with this horse?" And then I saw he was riding, and I was like, "Nope, all set."
This is one of those that I think some have dismissed, and it's been, I'm not sure what you've heard. I've seen a lot of comments like, "How did Adari Manor lose?" Or I didn't think Adari Manor could possibly lose that race. She did at a very short price. For some reason, the horse that beat her, who got a pretty good Brisnet speed rating, that 99 is right there with others. Curious how the buyers come back. Ragozin, not as fast as Kathleen O or Nest, but to me is somewhat a overlooked filly at 20-1. Another one of those that, like, based on the last and a horse that everyone thought would win, she beat. I really don't want to get beaten out of the Exacta try if she sticks around.
Yeah, with her, it's hard for me because that's really her one good race. She got an 87 buyer speed figure for there, which is better than anything she's ever shown before. Race before that, she got a 79, but she didn't hit the board at all. That was won by Ida. Race before that, she got a 70, also won by Ida. Race before that was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. So I think these figures are being inflated because of the level of class that she's been facing and not her actual ability.
Arizona bred is cool, admittedly, in a race like this. That's all I had for the field. I'll just bring up the summary page here because I am curious. Is there, just in general about how you're going to bet the race, is there a price where you would just say, F it, I'm putting everything I'm willing to bet on this race to win on Kathleen O, or no matter what, do you kind of feel like, well, I like Venti Valentine a little bit, so that's maybe an opportunity? What are you thinking about in terms of actually betting this race?
with all the talk about Kathleen O and the work and she doesn't look that good and blah blah blah, it's like I listen to that with an absolute grain of salt because I do trust myself in my own eyes with that situation. And now if this was a different type of situation where someone was talking to me about the number side of things and how this doesn't stack up or this is this or whatever, then I would ask for other people's opinions more and want to do more research on that. But in this situation, I do trust myself pretty well with what I'm seeing. So I think it's kind of like once I see her in the paddock, if she is exactly the same as I remember seeing her before all of her other races, and she's not like 4 to 5, that's all I need to see.
Yeah.
But if she is
Well,
acting
she's not
completely
going to be 4 to
differently,
5. You can't possibly think that's even
no,
remotely a possibility.
I don't. I'm just using that as a huge extreme of like, all right, that's enough.
Oh, okay.
Now, if she's acting completely differently than I've ever seen her act in the paddock or on the track beforehand, if she's getting super worked up and doesn't seem at all like herself, then I would be like, okay, well, who in here does look really good and like they're not too phased by the crowd and like they're going to show up with a big performance, and I might start to look elsewhere.
Right. All right. I brought this up. Run style. For those not familiar with brisnet, it goes EEPPS, early to sustained. So early speed, presser, sustain, closers. And then the points is on a 0 to 8 scale, 8 being fast early, 0 not. Who do you think's on the lead?
It depends on what they want to do with Ujiri. I know that there's some talk about how she can rate, and maybe that's the plan. But her best efforts have been on the lead. If Echo Zulu has to deal with a pace presence for the first time, I think it just really softens things up for the horse that we like the most. What
Hope
do you think?
so. Yeah, that's definitely the plan. For those wondering how we might pair our Oaks thoughts with the Derby, there is a video that you can access after you like and subscribe, where we looked at the Oaks Derby double. But of course, I'm sure we'll talk about the Derby more tomorrow and Saturday. But it is Derby weekend. I'm repping the Tis the Bomb button. 20 to 1 or more. He's definitely going to be my major key. If for whatever reason he's less than that in the Derby, still at that point would probably shift just to exclusively exactas and things like that. But it more than 20 to 1, I'm thinking I just want to squirrel away money in the win pool and just make sure it's a good day no matter what if he wins and not worry about anything else. So that's what I'm thinking now, but we'll get a good look at the will pays and stuff tomorrow, and that might help put in focus how I want to actually bet the Derby. But have you decided between Charge It and Zandon yet?
No. And with me, I won't until I'll obviously figure out what I want to do for doubles and the 2-day wagers and things like that and other multis, and I'll probably just use them both. But as far as an actual win bet, it depends on what kind of price we get on Zandon. And I want to see how much money Charge It takes because I feel like he's going to take a ton of money.
I don't want to say for sure he won't. I would actually be a little surprised, but I also get what you're saying. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, like the Derby with, I mean, the My Boy Jack stuff people still bring up, and I agree with them. I mean, the fact that that horse was 6 or 7 to 1 third choice, whatever it was, is just mind boggling to me.
Yeah.
So, I kind of think Crown Pride has moved into the territory of whatever money Charge It may have taken.
Mm.
Crown Pride will, but part of the fun.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? What was I just about to say? Oh, the buyer par that I looked at for tomorrow not tomorrow, Saturday for the Derby, it's a 103. And your horses that have done that are Messier and Teba. And that's it.
That's it. The two Baff teens.
Those are the ones. So
Well, without getting into it too much, if Taba wins, I'll be disappointed.
well, It's not a horse
But
I can.
Messier absolutely can win. He's the
Yeah.
enigma to me,
Well,
not
I
because
mean,
the whole Baffert thing, but I feel like Messier, if I've said this a few times, so I'm not sure if you've heard it yet, but if this were the Dwyer and I was just opening the form and these were the horses I saw, he would stick out to me as a huge contender. And obviously, there's other stuff swirling, and I'm trying not to let it affect me. But I've moved him in solidly in the B column. I mean, if he runs well and Tis the Bomb or Pioneer or Medina run well, I need to clobber it. He looks too good on paper not to use.
yeah, and I think look, we can as handicappers look at the form and everything that we would normally look at, and these two are your likeliest winners just based on figures that you and I both look at and other things. But then it's also like you have to remember everything else that's going on, and a lot of people that professionally handicapped, they want to talk about how he's young and he's talented, and they're all really the same age if you think about it, but he's just young in terms of inexperience with only the 2 starts going into this, and he's so talented, and he's absolutely like, okay, we all know that you didn't forget that these are the same connections of Medina Spirit. We know that you didn't forget that. We know that it's in your mind as well. You can bring it up if you want to say whatever you want to say about it, that's fine, but just it's something to keep in mind, and there's a reason why these horses are these horses.
Yeah. Charge It will go off at 17-1. I
I don't see
appreciate the
that.
comment. I'm actually most impressed by the name, Dean Opper Goalie Clinics. So if looking to save some goals, I guess Dean Opper is your man. But I agree. I think 16 or 18-1. He has 17. So I agree with him.
I would be surprised. I think he's gonna be like 12-1.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's Todd. Come on. You know
Todd
that
has
David,
Mo Donegal, though.
well, I mean, you know that David Levitch is gonna put some money on Charge It.
Yeah. Well, if you want to
Maybe
go
he,
double or nothing on Blackbeard,
what's that?
double or nothing on Blackbeard, 12-1. He'll just too many other horses are going to take money.
We'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, Mattress Mac gonna have some influence as well.
Yes. Back to the Oaks. Easy Fun Money says we're going to look back and think, wow, what a race.
I mean, we already think that now.
Wow, that race was loaded. I
I would,
mean, I agree, actually. I think it's a fantastic field.
yeah. No, it's exciting to get all these horses together finally and see what they can do against each other. So, I mean, no matter which way you slice it, no matter who your pick is, no matter what you think about any of these horses or who's going to win or other people online that you think are crazy for all their opinions, we're in for some really exciting races. And I think that's
Yeah.
something we can all kind of come together about, regardless of how everybody's bickering with each other. No, you're crazy, or my pick's going to win, or whatever. We're in for some really exciting talent, and it's just going to be an absolute treat to watch whatever happens. Even if I'm totally wrong about my picks, obviously I don't want that to happen financially, but
Right.
we're going to see some big performances, and not just with the Oaks and the Derby, but all the undercard races as well. It's a good day of stakes in general. Plenty of big names coming back for some really high stakes action. So it's just going to be exciting to be there. You and I will both
And
be
you're
there.
actually going to join us, right?
Duh. I stayed home to do all my handicapping today so that I
You're
could.
ready. I like it. And I still have to. My Derby day is done, but I need to send in the little sentence blurb with the actual picks. Well, I told myself we'd keep it to a hot 30. We're approaching 45. Bedtime for both of us soon. But any parting thoughts?
No, I'm just kind of disappointed that you didn't wear a hoodie. Are you going to wear one tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think an emoji shirt
It's
trumps a
casual enough.
hoodie. What's that?
It's casual enough.
Yeah, plus the button.
Well, I mean, it's like you're politicking over there.
Now, I didn't mention that I was going to ask you about this, but I'd be remiss. There is a pick 5 carryover tomorrow at Belterra. Have you had a chance to look at any of those races?
No.
No?
With all of my spare time, and like, I'm not laughing because it's Belterra. I'm laughing because Ed thinks that I have spare time to look at anything else.
I'm going to take a peek. A carryover?
I
Who
mean,
what?
I said, "Of course you are." I was watching Belmont today. I had to do the video of our handicapping hardcore pod and put that up for Ron. I had to do the article for
Uh,
that. I had to do the article for the Sire moves,
all
film
right.
handicapping. It was a busy day.
It is.
And then
It's
you're like, "Do you wanna
Derby.
do a live stream later?" I was like, "Sure, why not?"
This was good info, though. It
Yeah, it was
wasn't
fun.
hardcore.
No, the hardcore stuff is on the YouTube channel that everyone liked and subscribed to so that we got to
Yeah,
20K,
that
which
was a
was
deep dive. All right, one last plug after everyone likes and subscribes. Super Screener, you did a ton of chatting with Shuddy.
yeah,
Great
that's over.
product. Anyone who hasn't checked it out, still time. Great information.
Mhm.
The best compliment I could give it is I actually read it.
I did too. I mean, I had to because I did the interview, but
Right.
it was
Yeah.
very valuable. It's so in depth. Like he really took his time to go through each individual horse, each dynamic of the race. He's been doing this for years and had success with it. We talked a lot about the history of the super screener success and hitting the supers with huge bombs that they've had. So, I mean, he's got a pretty decent long shot this year. Um, he's had he's just knows what he's doing, and you can
Yeah.
tell he puts in the time and really respects what he's doing. So it was nice it was easy for me to just ask him questions and let him talk about the work that he's done.
And for me, as much as I mean, respect him, you, Scott, other peers, the Derby, like you said, got to be your own opinion. Go with it. Maybe other things inform your opinion, but at the end of the day, that's what matters most. Even feeling that way, super screener, you read it and you learn something. And then
Oh,
even if you don't agree with Mike's conclusions or how he's going to play the race based on the data he presents, you can learn from the data and maybe it helps inform your own opinion or talk you off a horse or whatever. So, don't want to turn this into a commercial, especially since we're dipping, but it's a good product and hopefully everyone checks it out.
yeah, and it's what 49.99 instead of 90.
I think if you buy today, it's $49.99.
Yeah, I mean, great price for so much information. You get a whole
Yeah,
hour video of me talking with Shuddy too, which that is some
that's
time of my life. Everyone should go watch that.
that's what you want. And you did Gino's podcast. I haven't listened to that yet, but gonna
Oh,
check that out.
yeah, no, he
No
went easy.
shortage of HRN in the Derby media space,
Right.
which is
You've
what
done
we
plenty
like.
of things too this week as well. I know you did the video quick for the Courier Journal. I know you're giving out picks there every day. So
Yeah,
yeah,
negative
everybody,
8% ROI. So in the ballpark.
there you go.
Need a couple good winners on Oaks Day.
Mhm.
All right, well, that's it. I think we've said our goodbyes, tried to pay some bills. Maybe we'll do it again tomorrow, maybe not, but we'll be at Churchill and looking forward to bringing all the action to everyone and winning some money.
Sounds good to me. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, that's Sara Ahmed. We're Horse Racing Nation. Happy